What's the easiest way to commit suicide on the internet? Talk about this fight. Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to another one of my Death Battle prediction videos. So, next time on Death Battle, after Macho Man versus Kool-Aid Man, we have DIO from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure versus Alucard from Hellsing. Now, we all knew that this fight was coming for a pretty darn long time. They kind of alluded to this fight in their Saberwolf versus John Talbane video, kind of, and then they had like other hints throughout the year, so we all knew that this fight was coming, and we also knew that this fight was coming in this specific episode slot because we knew it was going to be for Halloween, and this was the slot that just made the most sense for Halloween this year. And yeah, some people are really excited for this episode, some people really aren't, but at least now I think we can all get a little more hyped for it now that we know that it's coming soon. I'm personally pretty excited for it, although I do know that it's going to get toxic probably quite a bit, and you know, Death Battle's not going to be changing a lot of people's minds no matter what they say, so you know, whatever. But either way, I'm still pretty excited for this fight, and I'd like to see what Death Battle's going to do with it. But without further ado, let's just jump into this fight, because to put it mildly, this fight is pretty darn complicated. One of the biggest questions here is actually just trying to figure out what could DIO and Alucard even do to each other, because it's more confusing than you might think. I think there's a case to be made for Alucard being able to visually perceive the world. For those of you guys that don't know, the world is what DIO's stand is known as, and normally only other stands or stand users are able to see or hurt stands, you know? So I have heard arguments for Alucard being able to visually perceive the world, even if he can't really see it, you know, directly, just based on like enhanced senses and what he's been able to perceive before, etc., even though I still think it's a little iffy. But regardless, I think it's a much harder argument to make for Alucard being able to actually physically hurt the world directly. You know, Alucard can still definitely hurt DIO, just based on what we've seen in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. DIO can still take damage from opponents that are strong enough to damage him, you know? And the world will also take that damage because that's the stand-user relationship. The damage that's done to one of them, that same damage will be done to the other one. So Alucard can definitely affect both DIO and the world through that method. What DIO could do to Alucard, however, is somehow even more complicated, as I'm sure a lot of you guys already know. I think it's safe to say, though, that in terms of stuff like general stats, like strength and speed, DIO has a leg up overall. And you might disagree with some of my generalizations, or you might disagree with the advantages entirely, and that's perfectly fine, but to my knowledge, DIO should be around the multi-city block level in terms of power, and in the faster than light to massively faster than light range in terms of speed, whereas Alucard would be around the city block level and in the hypersonic to massively hypersonic range. So if it were just up to stuff like strength and speed, you know, and that was it, then I think I'd have a much easier time predicting this death battle, but it's simply not just up to those two factors. Alucard has a lot of dangerous abilities in his own right, and he has his crazy level of survivability, as I mentioned before. Alucard has mentioned in the Hellsing universe that there is no such thing as true immortality, but that still doesn't really mean much if DIO can't do anything to him. So yeah, it's pretty safe to say that if Alucard has anything over DIO, it's survivability and versatility. Alucard has that general vampire thing where it's ridiculously tough to kill him unless you use one of his specific weaknesses, but even then I believe he's been hit by his specific weaknesses before and was still able to power through them, so it's not just like a one-hit kill or anything like that, mainly because of his ridiculous level of regeneration and healing, which to my knowledge DIO does not have to that same level. He still has regeneration though, that is still one of his abilities. Just wanted to point that out. Alucard also has a lot of super strong abilities like telekinesis, telepathy, flight, hypnosis, shapeshifting, illusion generation, intangibility, enhanced senses, draining blood, etc. He's got a lot of different abilities, and he's also got his two super strong handguns, as well as some other weapons that he's carried from time to time, though I don't know exactly how much Death Battle is going to include for him. DIO has some of those same abilities. He can absorb blood, he's got enhanced senses, hypnosis, flight, etc. He's also got his Space Ripper Stingy Eyes, his brief time stops, and he can drain a person's body heat, but just from a sheer numbers perspective, Alucard just seems to have more up his sleeve than DIO. Alucard is also significantly older than DIO, and therefore likely has more experience. I am pretty darn sure that Heaven Ascended DIO won't be included in this fight because it's non-canon, and I also don't think that Schrodinger is going to be included because to my knowledge that isn't standard for Alucard. Level 0 Alucard might be included, but even then I'm not 100% sure. If it is included though, that's actually really interesting for this fight. If you guys don't know, level 0 is essentially when Alucard releases all of the stored souls inside of him as minions, in a manner of speaking. It's a little weird. But it also leaves Alucard the most physically vulnerable to regular attacks, meaning it would be the easiest way, aside from the minions, for Dio to take out Alucard. Now, it wouldn't permanently kill him to my knowledge, because that's just kind of the way that Alucard works, like he would still exist on some plane of existence, but it does kind of serve as sending him to the afterlife, to my knowledge, and at the very least, you know, it would remove him from this plane of existence. Like, it would disable him from fighting pretty darn well at the very, very least, you know? And on top of that, the souls that Alucard releases are essentially composed of blood, and if anything, that's actually going to help Dio if he just drains their blood and gets stronger. And because of his physical superiority, it's not too far-fetched to say that he could do that, especially when factoring in stuff like the time stops and his other abilities. So it's not too far-fetched to say he could just keep getting stronger as Alucard is physically weaker. But I have heard some people say that level 0 shouldn't be included for Alucard, so maybe it's not going to be included. I don't know. So if you haven't caught on by now, Alucard is just ridiculously difficult to kill. Like, I could see some people making the argument that he's just impossible to kill outside of stuff like his weaknesses and level 0, etc, etc. But regardless of whatever you want to throw around for these characters, what you want to include, what you want to say, whatever, I cannot come up with a reliable and sensible way of believing that Alucard would be able to outmatch Dio in physical combat more times than the other way around, you know, regardless of killing. And it's not because of some ridiculous regen that Dio has or anything like that, it's just because of Dio's advantages. You know, regardless of how you want to slice this fight, Dio is stronger, much faster, especially when you factor in the time stops, and regardless of if Alucard could perceive the world, it doesn't mean much if Alucard can't actually physically hurt the world because he's not a stand or stand user, and if the world is so much faster than Alucard that it could literally just keep taking all the hits for Dio with no problem. Additionally, yes, Alucard has some really strong abilities, so strong in fact that if Dio and Alucard were equal in stats, I could definitely see those abilities taking him much further in the long run. However, the only abilities that I really see making up for Alucard's lesser speed and strength are stuff that Dio also has, like hypnotizing people or keeping up via enhanced senses. Pretty much everything else would be difficult for Alucard to take advantage of because of Dio's stats. Dio would just be too fast or too strong for Alucard to be able to take advantage of them. Yes, Alucard could technically outlast Dio, and Dio is weak to sunlight, as we all know, but I really don't see Death Battle going that route. I don't see them using that as reasoning for that happening more times than not, for that being the most likely scenario. I just think they're going to go with a more simple approach. This is really just one of those fights where even if you know everything there is to know about the characters, it's still a little hard to judge exactly what Death Battle is going to do with them. What we do know for sure, though, is that they're going to have an extremely hard time trying to kill each other, albeit for different reasons, and that Dio is stronger, faster, and has a lot of ways to get around a lot of Alucard's arsenal. I will say that if this was a fight to the final death, like, you know, they have to die permanently, then I'm pretty darn sure Alucard would win, because Alucard really just can't die unless he, like, decides that he wants to die, or something like that. Again, it's really weird with immortality in Hellsing. With that being said, though, because Alucard can't really hurt Dio that much either when Dio is fighting at his best, I really just find it more reliable to go with a character who I can actually argue being able to outmatch the other in combat. Again, regardless of killing, Dio is just better set to win a fight like this with what they're given. Especially if Alucard does get level 0, then I do want to say that Dio would be able to power through and kill Alucard, because I do think that Death Battle would count it as a kill. If they don't give Alucard level 0, then I think it is a bit harder to say if Death Battle will lean in Dio's favor. Same if they give Alucard Schrodinger. I don't think they will, but I just wanted to put it out there. But I've done conditional predictions before where I say, like, oh, if this character gets this, then this character will win. If not, then this character will win, etc, etc. And I usually get burned by that, and it usually doesn't end too well for me. So I just want to go with my gut and go with one character for this prediction, and my gut is telling me that because both of these characters are going to have such a hard time killing each other, and because of Dio's fighting superiority overall, I want to say that they are going to give Dio the win in one way or another. Whether they're going to say that, you know, Dio can somehow take advantage of Alucard's weaknesses, or, you know, because of level 0, or just saying that Dio is so much stronger than Alucard that he can just, you know, beat Alucard to the point where they consider it a kill. I don't know what Death Battle is going to say, but I just have to assume that they're going to go in that direction because Dio is just physically superior. I'm not confident in this at all, by the way. I could definitely see Alucard winning this fight. I could see them going in a different different direction. And if you're betting on Alucard, I definitely understand, you know, he's a really cool character and he has his advantages over DIO for sure. But usually when they have a character, when Death Battle has a character that is stronger facing a character that is harder to kill, they usually find a way to have the stronger character win. They usually reason out a way that they can actually kill that character. Whether or not you agree with their methodologies when they do that is, you know, your call, that's your opinion, but that is normally what they do. So for that point alone, I am going with DIO. I think that DIO is going to win this death battle. You know, I'm not sure exactly how he's going to do it, but that is my prediction. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you want to yell at me, be sure to do so in the comments down below. But if you actually like this video, then be sure to give this video a like. Maybe even subscribe if you could too. That would be amazing. That would really help the channel out. But no matter what you guys do, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm really excited for this death battle no matter what happens, and I really hope you guys are too. But yeah, that's really it for me. I will see all of you guys in the next video. Peace out.